Yeah, we're rolling everywhere. Jesus.
Well, when you say we're rolling, we really are rolling. In fact, I think what we need to do is try and get a picture of this setup. We've gone from remote to sitting here with one camera to sitting here with how many now? And a slider.
Is that 4 cameras, sliders, all sorts of things?
We are giving this podcast a serious effort because we want it to look the best. We've got a lot of people that keep coming back every 2 weeks to watch it, so we want to give them the... And
we're going after Joe Rogan. This is it.
Yeah.
It's on.
We're shooting high. Yeah, Spotify, here we come. Our checkbooks are open and our bank accounts are empty. We need Spotify's dollar. How you doing, mate?
Good, yeah, it's nice in summary. Beautiful day.
I tell you what, I always love coming to you. A, because it gets me out of my studio. It means I actually meet a person, you. And the drive here is really lovely. But in the winter, it's not going to be as much fun, is it? Let's face it.
No, or even last month, by July, even though it was summer, it was so wet and horrible. No, I like having you around as well because, as you know, doing videos can be quite a solitaire thing.
Well, maybe we'll talk about that when we get onto what we're going to do is talk product to start with because we've got quite a lot of product to talk. Jesus, that camera's coming at me.
There's Marquez Brownlee. We're coming after you as well.
I've got a Marquez related story. I was going to say Marquez story. It's not really, I don't know him, but I've got a kind of a Marquez story to talk about later. So we'll get onto the YouTubey stuff in the back half. But yes, as you say, getting out and actually being with people is important mentally. I found out today as well.
Definitely.
So I've got you to blame really.
Really? What have I done now?
Well, amongst many things, encouraged me to spend money and encouraged me to spend money on Android phones.
I told you, yeah.
That Pixel.
Diversifying.
That Pixel went really well for me. I mean,
awesome.
We know about the troubles I've had with getting views. And I think maybe the Apple market was so locked down onto people's favourite creators. They kind of know where to go if they want to see an Apple review.
Yeah.
But with Android, because it's so much more diversified, I found there's a better foot into the market. And I've now done, since borrowing your Pixel, I've then bought the Nothing and bought the Flip, which we'll get onto. But suddenly the market's opened up. And I think part of the appeal is people enjoy seeing an Android novice making his way, which I've had to do.
That's what happened to me. And I think Patrick he's not a novice into Android, but he's also seen some really good reception on reviewing as we call ourselves sometimes as an Apple fanboy, reviewing an Android phone, and people do like that aspect because invariably what we're finding is there's a lot of cool stuff on Android that we hadn't really considered.
I'll put my hand up and completely admit I always thought Android was the sort of the little boy's playground. I thought it was going to be cheap, nasty, tacky.
Yeah, it's the hacker's phone, isn't it?
Yeah, the make-believe. I used to look at people with an Android. Oh, poor you. One day you'll be able to get an iPhone. It's horrible to admit.
That's still there. That sort of stigma still there, really.
But since I think out of the 3 that I've tried, your Pixel is the most premium, feels most premium, and possibly if you were looking for something that was iPhone equivalent, that would be it. The other 2 have got certainly their USPs we'll get onto in a minute.
Yeah.
But that Pixel is a lovely phone.
The Pixel 7 Pro, the 6 Pro was already amazing. But, there's a lot, I think, that Google compromises. But I don't know, there's something about the Pro range on those phones that, it really
You said
really
earlier on that theirs is the most native and the cleanest Android because it's theirs. And, of course, it was obvious that, Android is basically their OS that everybody licenses and takes and uses.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the only thing I've got against that phone is I love that curve. I call it an infinity screen, the way it curves at the edges. But it's so damn slippy. You're gripping onto it for dear life. That polished back and the curved edges don't make for a good recipe.
Yeah. I like typing on it because the visor at the back gives you a little bit of support. Your fingers can rest on that. And there's a fidgety feel to it as well. But and I had that with the 6 Pro as well. I liked that visor. But it's not everyone's cup of tea. Even on the S23 Ultra, that kind of curved edge is, some people hate it.
Because I was reading a little bit about the Pixel 8 that's coming out in October, and it's the forum I was on yesterday on Reddit was saying that they're going away with the curved screen possibly this year and going for a flat screen, which would be a shame because I think it's a real USP, except it does make more sense practically. Because I think there's less chance of it spilling and going.
Yeah, I don't know. So the reason I like the Pixel, more the 6 Pro than the 7 Pro. The 7 Pro, if I'm honest, I haven't really used it that much. I mean, you've had it for more than I had, but I just thought it was lighter than at the time the 13 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max. It was lighter to use. So in the evenings, that was the phone I was reaching for the most.
Yeah,
because it was just a lot more, comfortable to use for especially like for over an hour if you're just scrolling socials and stuff. And then I found the kind of the fold to kind of overtake that, because it was almost like a mini tablet. But the Pixel, I still think is one of the most comfortable phones to use.
Lovely
as
display
it is.
on it.
Yeah.
Really lovely display. I've really grown to like that. And then I started to think, because last year, for the first time, I got free of being on contract. I actually went and bought my 14 Pro.
Right.
The thought then being, I was a year into having a YouTube channel. I'd expected more growth than I've had. That's not for now.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, there goes one pop.
And I don't know what's happened there.
And I thought, well, if I bought it, at least I've got I'm in the market. It's almost like a house I can trade on. But now I'm seriously thinking, I don't know if I want the 15. I really don't. There's not that much.
As a tech reviewer, I think we must review it.
I think I might do that age-old thing of the 14-day. I've never done it yet.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the way to go. Record as much as I can out of it for 2 weeks. Use it, review it. If anyone wants to watch it, at least I then can compare it up against other things.
Yeah,
Like,
and you give yourself a chance, right, to actually, it might actually change your mind. That's the thing, right? If you don't get it, you never know. Maybe
True
15, because with the 14, I think it's been the worst experience I've had on an iPhone ever. I had every single one, but I think a lot of it was down to the early versions of iOS 16. From what I'm hearing now, it's a lot more stable. They fixed a lot of the bugs, and it doesn't stick as much as it was sticking with, especially the first few 0.1, 0.2 versions. I was like, I can't. I mean, it's an over £1,000 phone, or it's
the
a lot of
battery
money.
life's the thing. I mean, I've driven here today and it's down to 50%. And I left.
Yeah.
Okay, it was Bluetoothing audio to the car, but and sat nav. So yeah, in fairness, it's been doing a bit of background work.
Yeah.
It was only an hour's and a bit drive.
50%, yeah. You'd expect. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it goes on until the end of the day, is usually fine for me. But yeah, I think, to be honest, the 14 Pro Max that I had, it was a 5,000 milliamp battery. It was going into the next day easily, but it wasn't going into the next day and then into the afternoon like the S23 Ultra does, right? It was like, I can completely forget.
The 23, you can just run for a day and a bit.
Almost 2 days. If you're not that busy, almost 2 days, easily.
Yeah,
I forget sometimes to do overnight charge, and I don't worry. I get into 2 p.m. next day and it's 20% left.
I now understand what you're saying about it, because a couple of these phones, the Nothing, for instance, I've almost forgotten to put it on charge.
Yeah.
Because you just expect it to have battery. Because you, in the Serena speak, you transitioned from Apple, 3-4 months ago now?
Yeah, April, May, probably. Yeah. So yeah, but I mean,
No thoughts
transition
going
from
back,
Apple.
Well, phone at least.
iPhone, yeah. Yeah, I don't see myself using an iPhone as my main phone anytime soon. I'm just getting so much more, productivity-wise. I actually do my work, and it is as an Android, user, they might think, oh, hang on, this is we've had that for years. But for me, it's relatively new into this world as well. I mean, it's only 2-3 years that I've really been paying attention to Android. I think I just get a lot more done. It's basic stuff like, multitasking, that people say that a lot, but I'm talking, using the maps and music at the same time, in the car, or, taking notes and listening to a conference call at work. It's easy stuff that Android has had for years. And I'm thinking, why can't we do the same on an iPhone, especially on the 14 Pro Max, which is a bigger screen.
Because that's the other thing. All these phones I'm getting
should be
are all 6.7-inch screens,
Yeah.
Pro Max range. And I realised that larger screen really comes in useful. And I'm reaching for my iPhone less now. I still call myself an iPhone user, but not as devout. I now...
Yeah.
Actually, there's something... I didn't get a chance to look at your tweets on the way down here. But you found some other good apps, haven't you, to work? Because I found Snapdragon.
I did, yeah.
Which is an equivalent of AirDrop, which works pretty well.
Yeah.
And Clipped I use for the universal clipboard kind of thing. So that's the two hacks I found.
So the one I found is interesting because, it's not on the App Store, but it should be, because it's bloody amazing. It's like, it's on, you got to go into GitHub and download the code for it and install it and go through all the security warnings that you get on the Mac. But once it's in there, it's exactly like AirDrop. The only problem is it's one way only. So you can only send from the smartphone, S23 Ultra in my case, to the Mac. And that's 99% of the use cases what I want to do, right? Take a photo and send it. I was moving 8 gigs of files yesterday, which was what I was trying to do. Then I tried the cable and Android file transfer, which is a native Mac app, not native, but
I
it's the one-
tried that initially
Awful.
with your Google. I actually went onto their page to see
Yeah.
what they recommended, and they said use that, and it was terrible.
Yeah,
really
It
awful.
used to work. I mean, its interface is horrible, but it used to work. You plug in the cable and you transfer stuff. It's not that hard. But yeah, it wasn't having it. It was working with the Fold, but Fold 5, but not with the S23 Ultra. So I was like, you know what? I just need something. I went on Twitter, so I do miss AirDrop. And then I did a bit more research, and I found this thing. It's called Neardrop,
Right.
and it makes nearby share works just like AirDrop, and it is nearby share, but you see the Mac come
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, brilliant. That's exactly what I want.
Well, Snapdragon's similar to that. I go through it via Chrome, so it's open on as a tab on Chrome, and then you've got the app open on your phone. It sees one another pretty, and you can go both ways as well.
Yeah.
And Snapdragon's worked pretty well for me because, as you know, we spend a lot of our
It's
time.
Snapdrop, isn't it?
Snapdrop,
yeah.
sorry,
Yeah,
Snapdrop.
yeah, I've tried
Dragon,
that too, yeah.
So as a novice newbie to the Androids, those two, Clipton and Snapdrop, have got me out of the ecosystem to some degree. And I'm already thinking
Yeah.
that can be tomorrow's blog, actually.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that escaping the ecosystem, because it sort of can be done. And a lot of the reason that I love the ecosystem is for that convenience, to just be able to move things around so fluidly. A lot of the time I'm not using my HomePods, whatever. Most of it's getting stuff to or from the phone, mostly AirDrop.
Yeah.
So, I'm really had my eyes open, and I know you've got a load of products sitting over there. So now I'm thinking also, when it comes to S24 next year, I think I could, because obviously that's the daddy, that's the real comparison to iPhone, isn't it? That's where you shoot 8K video, and you've done all your great reviews on it.
I wish almost that they released them at the same time, because you always kind of, so the iPhone 15 comes out next month.
Yeah.
Mentally, you think that's more advanced than the S23 Ultra, right? Because it's newer.
Yep.
But I don't know, in reality, they're kind of on par. But then the S24 in 6-7 months comes out, and that becomes the newer thing. And, is that more advanced than the iPhone 15?
It's very odd the way they stagger their releases. It's obviously, I'm only beginning now to pay attention, but it's sort of January and August release they do, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not at the same time. I mean, I guess it makes sense, because you want to, tap onto the market as much as possible, because, if everyone if it gets too many options, you might not.
I suppose it gives them two
sell
bites
as
of
much
cherry,
as you
doesn't
want.
it?
Yeah.
It keeps their name and the bubble up there twice a year as opposed to just the once a year thing.
Yeah.
I mean, when the 15 comes out, if I do get it, which I'll probably do, at least as you say, on the sort of the 2 week kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if the file transfer is any better now with Thunderbolt, which is supposed to be coming to the pros.
Right.
Because at the moment, when I bought that phone, I thought, being a perfectionist, I'll shoot ProRes everything.
Yeah.
You just can't get the bloody files off. I mean, it's
It's
ridiculous.
a tricky one.
Lightning's just not up to it. You can't shift files.
It's just, I mean, that's the one thing I'm looking forward to on the 15 is to be able to record ProRes videos and then easily transfer it with a USB-C cable. Right?
What are they like getting from the Samsung? How do you get them off of there when you record?
Difficulty, but it's
Same.
at least it's faster because it's USB-C.
Yeah.
Or if it's only a few clips, like 10 clips or whatever, I just upload it to Google Photos.
Yeah.
And download it.
Well, tell me back
on,
here,
on a
it's-
5G network. It's
Yeah, because I know
actually
you've got 5G around here, haven't you?
Yeah, so but last night I think it was 8 gig, and I was at home, which is not that fast. So I just needed AirDrop or something.
Yeah. So, should we talk what we've got here? Let's go Samsung's first. So,
Yes.
you went Fold, didn't you?
So I got the Fold 5. This is the icy blue one, which is quite nice. I mean,
Beautiful.
I was tempted to get the exclusive blue, whatever they
Online,
call
yeah.
it, which has a darker camera module here. But I don't know. I prefer this. It kind of, I don't know. It's a different blue to the S23 Ultra.
It is, yeah. It's slightly more, it's got more of a purple hue, hasn't it?
Yeah,
It's fractionally deeper.
paler, and it's a little bit deeper than. I actually prefer the S23 Ultra color, to be honest. But yeah, I love the tone on the sides as well. I mean, it feels just like my Fold 4 feels, right? It's a little bit lighter.
So, out of interest, with the Fold open out flat compared to the
Yeah.
Ultra, where are you at screen sizes then?
Oh, I guess the
Well,
Fold.
it's a big screen, isn't it?
Yeah, the
Ultra.
Fold will be bigger. But the thing is, when you're watching content, things like Netflix and whatever, the aspect ratio on the Fold, as you can see, is like almost a square.
Yeah.
So it's more pleasing actually to watch on this. It's more immersive, I think, because you, especially if you zoom in a little bit to get rid of the black edges on the side, which you can do on the Fold as well. But I think it's a little bit I think it's probably a little bit bigger. The actual area that you're watching is bigger on the S23 Ultra when you're watching content.
Yeah.
But unless you zoom in to fill the screen, but then you're into this squarey thing. So for watching content, it's probably not the best. The Fold isn't. But for gaming, gosh, this is incredible because there's nothing on it. There's not even the little cutout camera, right? It's under the display, and you don't even see it.
Because obviously, I found they got this camera blackout. So I've got the Flip, and they've got this camera blackout feature, haven't they? That you can block out for certain apps as well. So
I haven't
mentioned on the
gotten
video
into that. Yeah, but it's.
I mean, this of course, its thing is for watching content. I'm using it on the cover screen all the time because you can actually put apps onto the cover screen, and Netflix is one of them.
Yeah.
And where are they? Yeah, there you go. So you've got Netflix and YouTube. You can just
brilliant.
sit on the sofa.
Yeah.
And like if you're having breakfast or eating lunch, you can just pop that up. It's so convenient
That's
to use.
awesome, isn't it?
I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I was. It's and the cameras for 12 megapixel. They are
that's pretty good.
surprisingly good. I bought it. I did a sort of vague unboxing on this last week, very quick. And last week I turned around 2 videos, 4 blogs, and a live stream, which is part of why I'm so shattered and screwed now. I still haven't recovered. But Daniel joined me very quickly because we worked out the time frame that the courier was due to deliver would be about 9 o'clock in the evening his time. He was great. He joined and sort of talked me through, try this, brilliant. Yeah. And I thought when I first got it, it was just going to be a little fashion accessory. I thought very much it was almost a teenager's phone, a TikTok generation kind of thing. And it's remarkably well grown up. And I'll tell you what, for a solo content creator, if you just want to put it down, because obviously using the main cameras, you can see you in frame.
Yeah, you can tell that's what they're going after, isn't it?
I might even do this week's newsletter on it. I might even just pop that down.
Yeah.
And
so what's the quality on that video? Can you go 4K 30?
4K 30 and 60 on the main.
That's not bad.
No, certainly the stabilisation isn't bad because I did a bit walking along, the age-old walking through a wood, recording yourself and people thinking, but I've got used to that feeling now. I mean, people stared at me for many years anyway, so I honestly was ridiculously gobsmacked at how grown up that phone is. I thought it was just going to be a toy. And what I now realise is if Samsung's cameras are that good at 12 megapixel, Jesus, what your S23 must be like. I mean, I've seen your videos and seen the quality.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's the first Android phone that I've, realised that actually I could do away with not having an iPhone for the first time. The 13 Pro Max before, in my opinion anyway, was superior than the S22 Ultra at the time. And I have to say, that's probably not true, depending on if you know what you're doing with the S22 Ultra, and if you have the variant that is not the Exynos variant, because that one was really bad for me anyway. Yeah. But I think it was the first time the S23 Ultra was the first phone that I realized actually, I can use this professionally if I wanted to record. If I didn't have my camera with me, and I've done it in several videos now. I used the clips from the S23 Ultra. People probably notice. But it's not totally. It's not horrible, right?
No.
And especially if you go into the pro modes and you mess with the
white balance exposures
yeah.
Which is, I say, that's what made me realise that if that camera is that good on there, I'm so tempted to try an S20. I won't bother with the S23. If I'm serious about it, I'll wait till the 24. But I'm just so keen to see what that would be like.
It's incredible. I took a few shots with the Fold 5 yesterday, and that phone surprised me as well. I mean, they've done amazing.
They're not as good at cameras on that, I take it, as your 23.
I think you can get like a 50 megapixel shot in there. But, if you go into the expert RAW mode, you can then like take raw shots and mess it up, mess with it later in Lightroom and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredible. In good lighting anyway. I mean, it's as good as any iPhone that I've ever had. So, they really do a good job.
And playing with that came on the back of playing with that.
That's the nothing phone. Yeah.
I think, okay, it's not going to play lights games for me. But anyway, as a phone, really good fun to use. Really, really good fun to use. But the cameras, you have to work damn hard to get anything.
That's the thing. I've seen enough videos about it, and kind of that's the one thing that I realized. And I saw what Carl Pei said about it as well, that they consciously, compromised on the camera because they didn't think it was that important. And I think, well, I don't know, as a smartphone these days, with everyone being a content creator almost, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's on their Instagrams and TikToks. you've got to give people good cameras.
The cameras on that struggled. If you need to have a little bit of wherewithal, a little bit of courage to go into the settings and play around. If you do all of that, but of course with a smartphone, for a lot of people, it's take out of the pocket and shoot. And that doesn't really cut it. The compromise is way down. However, I think it's something I was writing this week. I realised I was comparing a company that's just gone through a second round of crowdfunding to $3 trillion company.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
25 years of history and getting it right.
Yeah,
At the top of their game against it. And I like the fact they're minnows. I like the fact they're chasing the tails hard, and they are fun. And the OS, the way it always got the dot matrix kind of look to it, and you can get the home screen tailored pretty well. They've just released an update which I've installed. I'm going to review it next week. Yeah. It's meant to address the haptics and some issues with the camera.
I can't wait to see what they do. When they get serious, so to speak, right? When they actually let's do like a flagship type competitor. It'd be awesome to see. But I just hope it doesn't do what the Pixel Fold did recently, which was let's compete in the foldable arena. But then they compromised so much. I was excited for it when they announced it at Google I/O, whatever it was. But then when it came out, I was like, oh my gosh, those bezels! I just can't get. It's almost like saying that the Fold doesn't have a crease. It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. You can't ignore the bezels on the Pixel Fold, right? It's just, for me, that's more intrusive than the crease somehow.
Yeah, the crease, obviously, it's the first time I've had a foldable in sort of modern times.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is there, but it's got to be. But they've engineered it out very well. And most of its life, it's not going to sit flat anyway. I think majority of the time, it's going to be in flex.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, that one's probably more. I mean, I never had one in my hand. It was the first time when you showed it to me.
And I saw your face, like, man, that's
like,
lovely.
Wow, it's lovely. It's the fact that you can just flick it in one hand and play with it is just great.
And it does. It just sits. It sits beautifully.
Yeah.
Just everything about it. That once it's in flex mode, which is how you're going to use it the majority of the time.
And there's something about the weight as well. It's not too light or too heavy, but it feels.
You did
premium,
over there
right?
when I walked in exactly what I spent. You just holding it.
Yeah. It's great.
I really wanted to say it on the video, and the one thing I forgot, I felt like I was in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because I want to get the flip right. It's that I can do. I either felt as a secret agent or on Star Trek. It's a toy. It feels absolutely beautiful to use.
Yeah. I don't want to like it because I just don't have time to create content. But I feel like I should get one.
You'll get clicks on it. You'll get views on it. For you, it will pay.
I'm honestly thinking about it, but I'm not really the target, so I would struggle to use it because I know
thought that. But you're a content creator, and it's a little mini solo studio.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna have to try harder.
It's got to. Also, the tablet, because now I'm here with you, and last time I was here with you, I wasn't really a paid up member of Android, and I'm going that way now, and I hadn't paid attention either to your S23, which does look. Jesus, it looks lovely. I must admit, it really does look lovely.
It's a beautiful phone. Yeah.
And your tablet is enormous.
A 14-inch makes a big difference.
Damn.
That's what she said. But
if you're packing 14 inches in the wrong video game.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I don't know, I'm a little bit disappointed in a way that the Tab S9 Ultra came out this soon because there's really that much more improvement. I mean, they've added IP68 rating. Mine is on this way, but I don't know. I'm curious about it because obviously I've done loads of content on it, but I think it could have done, in my opinion, they could have waited another year and brought something newer. But at the same time, I don't know, maybe they're kind of foreseeing that Apple maybe will bring an iPad to compete against that.
Pro, yeah. I mean, that is, totally a usable machine. It's so big.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be almost too big to sit on the sofa and comfortably watch content on, isn't it?
You can't. I mean, as much as Android, Daniel will probably say, yeah, you can definitely use it as a tablet. I don't know. After a while, it's like it's way too massive to hold it comfortably on a sofa. So mine is on a stand all the time. I never tried the Samsung keyboard. I bought the cover now that you can write.
So they do sell the equivalent of the smart keyboard, and
yeah, it's just not as good. Let's be honest. It has a little flap at the back that lets you use it on your lap without the keyboard, which is nice. But you can get one from Amazon that does the same for a fraction of the price.
Which tablet do you reach for the most then? Which is if you're instinctively?
The iPad Air is something that I use a lot these days, especially in the evenings. During the day, my workhorse is the Tab S8 Ultra.
Because it's on a mount over there and it's based like another monitor,
Yeah,
isn't
and
it?
it's some of my clients require me to use Microsoft apps that I don't really have on my Mac or don't want to install it on my Mac. So that's a straight switch to the USB on the monitor and use DeX.
Tip of my tongue. That was what I was going to ask you about. The one thing that I wasn't disappointed about, the flip isn't DeX enabled.
That's a shame.
So what does DeX actually? I've heard what it is, but what does it actually look like and functionally do? If you're working on your phone, you plug it in,
and it automatically. I mean, you can set it so that as soon as it recognizes a monitor, it goes into DeX mode. So the monitor then becomes almost like a Windows machine, right? It shows the same sort of look and feel with the bar at the bottom and the apps. And then you can just, use with a mouse and keyboard.
No lag, just smooth.
No, it's so good. It's so good. I did a short yesterday about it because the other thing that you can do, and I think you could do that before, but it's so good. It's the display on the fold becomes a trackpad. So you can have that there connected to the monitor and use as a trackpad with gestures, and you can customize the gestures. It's awesome. I mean, and it could be a placebo effect, but I'm thinking the Fold 5 DeX now is faster than the Fold 4 DeX. I don't know. I haven't really tested, but it loads. To me, it seems faster, and it's higher res as well. And I need to ask someone about this because I did some tests yesterday. The S23 Ultra DeX only goes up to I think 1920 by 1080p. It goes higher. It goes to WQHD or whatever to 560, I think it is. On the Fold 5, and I thought that's nice, and I proved that by watching a YouTube video in 4K. I could definitely watch that in DeX.
Yeah,
that's gone. In DeX on the Fold 5, but I couldn't get to 4K on the S23 Ultra in DeX.
Right, in DeX.
So you're definitely getting more res, and to me, it feels a little bit faster as well.
Maybe I'll try and have a quick look at DeX before I shoot off.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen it. Now, obviously, all of this is really interesting me and intriguing me.
It makes so much sense, yeah. And then if you've got one of those mouse and keyboard that you can switch quickly between
like the Logitech
inputs,
kind of things, yeah.
It's such a quick thing for me. That's what I do with the tablet. No, quick switch the mouse and keyboard to the tablet, plug the cable in, and that's it.
And of course, I also didn't realise that Android differs a lot from phone to phone. In my naivety, I thought, well, Android's Android. But the three phones I've tried, the one thing that was slightly annoying with the Samsung was the amount of Samsung apps that are natively installed. As soon as you open it up, they want you to go into Samsung Cloud and Samsung Backup and Samsung Photos. And that I found a little bit of an ag, just having to, I had a Google Drive set up anyway, so it made more sense just to use that. So I found that slightly annoying. But the feeling of all of them is very, very different.
Yeah. It's... I might be a little bit biased because I haven't used that many. I mean, I've used Google Pixels, the last two, so it's not really that many. I haven't used Oppo's and all the other versions, right? But between the Android on Pixels and Samsung, I pick the One UI, which is a Samsung's variant, any day. I mean, what they've done with that version of Android is almost Apple-like, right? When you probably saw that on the flip. It's so smooth.
It is. And customizable as well. I never realised when people kept banging on about, with Apple you're stuck. And I see what they mean now. The OS is kind of the OS. Yeah. Whereas on that, you can label things, unlabel things. You can change the size of the grid layout. You can change the size of the app icons. Yeah. On the Nothing, you can have the app icons in all sorts of different visual effects as well. You can have them in sort of a dot matrix or black and white, a glyph thing. It's so, you can tailor them so much.
There's these launchers that you can get. I mean, Samsung did something that allows you to customize. I think it's called Good Lock. It's an app in Samsung that you can get, customize it with Samsung stuff. But then there's other things. Like I use Novalauncher, which is something that you can, again, it's another skin on top of it that allows you even further customizations. I mean, if you like an icon pack that looks differently, that's what I've got on the S23 Ultra. It's just, it really lets you make something quite unique. Yeah,
it really does become yours, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really care too much about that stuff. The Fold 4, actually, I never really changed it too much. But on the S23 Ultra, I do enjoy it.
Of course, you've got the two. Let me just see the difference of the hinges, because that's the big difference between the 4s and the 5s. So it's much flatter now, isn't it?
It's
wow.
Yeah, if I
it's like
hold
a country
it like
mile,
this,
wasn't it?
See, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how they managed. It's such a big jump, right? Basically,
Yeah, that one
removes
looks like a steep cliff almost, doesn't it?
Yeah. In fact, I took this very photo of me holding these two phones for Daniel. That's his current thumbnail. Fun fact.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed finding out about what all this is about, and I'm really tempted now. I think definitely the Pixel 8, just because it's such a quality phone, I think that's got to be worth. And it's done okay for me on view. So if people like watch me talk,
I love the Pixels. I mean, they've always been great, and I always remember when I had iPhones and I wouldn't try anything else at work. People would go, "Oh yeah, I tried the first 2-3 Pixels." They're like, "Oh my gosh, check this!" And I used to remember them showing me the pictures. It's like, how are they doing that with the first 2-3 versions of the phone? And in some cases, better than the iPhone. But obviously, it's all computational photography and whatever. But they do an amazing job with speech to text. I was talking to you about earlier, right? In my case, when I script my videos, it's a lot easier to, instead of just typing, to just speak, because I think it then sound a little bit more natural, close to what you really sound in real life. And the Pixel is great for that, because he would understand every single word, even though I've got an accent. It didn't matter. And actually, if I recorded a message in Portuguese as well, you would do the same. There was no difference in performance.
I haven't tried the speech detect on the Samsung. On the Nothing, it worked, but nowhere near as quick as the Pixel.
No, none of them do. I mean,
Pixel
Apple is probably the worst.
Yeah.
And the Samsung and Bixby, so it's okay, but it's not. It's nowhere near the Google
Bixby,
stuff.
is that a Samsung assistant?
It's like Siri.
Yeah, but the Samsung equivalent. Yeah.
It's okay. If you ask for basic stuff, right,
Time and Ninja, whatever. And
set a reminder, create a meeting, remind me to do this or that. It's okay in that way, but it's not the best.
And probably that's a decent point to begin sort of talking YouTubey stuff. And I thought we'd talk about analytics and how to understand your analytics better of the channel. Because I know there's so much in there, and that's content I wish I could have found somebody talking about earlier on, because there's so much in there, it's almost daunting. But as we sort of beginning to talk YouTube, it just struck me as funny, and I kind of mentioned when I got here last night. So I'd spent 30 hours, 3 days, a couple of late nights working on the video. It's just gone up on the Samsung Flip.
What's going on there?
Flip 5. Oh, it's running. It's going to die.
It's
got too hot. That's a half hour.
Okay, cool.
So I spent 30 odd hours working on this video. I was pretty happy with it. It was as good as I could do. I tried different things. I was actually, you get that feeling. You think, I'm pretty pleased. Yeah, maybe not.
Right.
I felt good about this one. It was as good as I could make. I'd literally just done the last 2 or 3 minutes working it, ready to schedule.
Right.
And what pops up on my screen? Marques Brownlee, 1 week later with the Flip. Was I wrong? I thought, that's either going to kill it or be okay. I immediately went and stole his tags. Hands up. He only put about 6 tags in.
He doesn't do it. Yeah. I mean, I forget sometimes, and the videos do okay. So I'm wondering, actually, are tags still a thing? I mean, do YouTube care about them?
Yeah, because I know now they seem to put more emphasis into title and also what your opening frames are and what people can, because obviously now people are scrubbing and searching that way. I don't know. I mean, I've never tried going naked on the tags.
I'd love for YouTube to be clearer to creators on what we should be doing, because if they are for like the tags if someone's looking for Fold 5 instead of a Z Fold 5, and you add those 2 tags in there, and that's why it helps, then great. But at the moment, I can't tell if that's helping.
No, because we can't A/B it.
Sometimes I think maybe is the fact that I'm adding multiple languages, in the translation, in the subtitles, that's being indexed and that's helping with SEO. But it's just a hunch.
I know,
I
we're
don't
just
really
poking,
know.
aren't we?
Yeah.
Before we leave Marques, not that he needs much help from us. If you haven't watched that first, I think you said you had the first.
I watched the intro
frame.
for that. Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine? After all the work I put into my video, I watched that first 3-5 seconds, and I just thought, Marques Brownlee, his robot, his team of 20 around him, and 15 years' experience counts for something.
Yeah, definitely.
It was just a takeaway lesson. It was so simple.
Yeah.
And so beautifully done.
Yeah, it's engaging. He's done that sort of thing before. And and I was thinking actually for my multitasking section in my next video to do something similar, where, you're watching me doing the thing, but then the thing becomes the computer and you kind of move away from the camera. It's so effective, right? It's a nice transition.
It's brilliant, yeah. Now, you actually sent me a really interesting link to help with the storytelling, because, of course, storytelling is a big part of video making, which you don't really think about, or I didn't early on.
No, especially in tech, it's so...
Yeah, you think I'm talking about fun.
Yeah.
But you realise, and then once you put it apart, you realise all the guys are actually telling a story.
Yeah.
So you sent me this link for Pope in the pool.
Yeah.
Really good, interesting read. I'll let you sort of give away.
Yeah.
Tell what it's about.
So yeah, I came across it just by watching editors, and there's an editor. I think his name is Hayden Smith or something. Hayden Hillier Smith. He edits his video for Paul Logan or Logan Paul or whatever, and Mr. Beast. None other. Not all the time because now Mr. Beast has a team, but he used to, and sometimes he does like consultant jobs for him. And he talks about this technique, and I was like, okay, well, what is it about? And it's a movie. I forgot the name of the movie, and I keep meaning to remember. There's a movie where they were doing something called exposition, which is basically the boring bit of explaining a concept.
Yep.
But during that, they tried to entertain people. So there was basically the Pope. There was an assassination of the Pope. They were plotting to assassinate him, and they were talking about, how he's going to get out of it or whatever, and in the pool. And that gets you interested, right? You're watching that because it's weird, that's a crazy concept to think. So you kind of focusing on what's going on the screen.
In front of you, yeah.
And listening to it almost by accident. And and that helped, when you start seeing that all the time, when people go into like an ad read and you're talking about Peter McKinnon, that's exactly what he's doing. He's doing an ad read, which is the exposition, but he's doing something entertaining at the same time and makes you watch. And that's
and that's you'll 100% get it. When you sit and watch videos now, you do watch them with a different eye. And I sat down and watched Peter's latest one, which is all about photography. It was all about film photography, which is his latest passion, as you know. But rather than just breaking into his Squarespace read, he was out in Toronto hiding film for people to find.
Yeah.
And just making that the story, but bringing Squarespace into it was brilliant because you actually felt that it was part of the story.
Yeah.
So from a sponsor's point of view, you weren't clicking through.
It is great. I mean, Mr. Beast did that as well with, I think it was exploding cars into a pit or something. Same thing. He was talking about his new .org website, and you're like, but I'm seeing the train going into a pit at the same time. It's like, that's, how can you skip that ad, right?
Because, of course, you've been putting a lot more acting, which is what it is. There's no way of dressing around it. The opening you did for your S5, when you're scribbling out the
Tab
type,
S8 Ultra, Tab S9 Ultra.
And you're doing this thinking face and just purely a close-up of your face on the screen and looking. It looks so simple.
Yeah.
It's really effective because you're looking at your face centered and you want to know what's he thinking, what's he pulling in. And
that's another little technique. I mean, you see it everywhere all the time, and you just never really think of. And it works in YouTube. It's that one is called a Kuleshov effect. I'm not even saying it properly, I don't think, but it's basically you kind of have a neutral face, or let the audience kind of try to figure out what emotions you're feeling at the time, and then you show them what you're looking at, and then kind of and that gets them engaged in a way that we get engaged when you go to watch a movie.
I mean, it is, making videos is a very short form of movie making. We get that. But how much license do you feel you've got at the start of a video to... Because there's always this thing that you've got to be impactful, move on quickly and keep that retention.
Yeah. I see that in both ways. I see that sometimes, just get straight... My next video is going to be straight into the content. I'm not even... There's no intro, and I never really did an intro, but I used to enjoy doing some really cool shots, cinematic shots, and put some tunes in it at the beginning, the first 10, 15 seconds. I'm avoiding those now. I'm just trying to just say what I'm about to say in the video, which is more like a hook.
Yeah, that's the hook.
And then go into the content. Now I'm going to skip the hook altogether in my next video, just to experiment again. Just say, what happens if I just go straight into the content? And then after that, I say, right, now I can take a breather. And that's an idea that, again, I'm borrowing of people who said, earn the right to calm down a little bit and then take people through a journey. But sometimes I play the other way around. It's like, start with the story, and then at the end close with the story as well. But in the middle, you do the content. Because tech is hard, right? Because we're not really talking about my day going from A to B. Traveling somewhere, which is easier to tell a story. Relationships between people, right? All the stuff is a lot easier. With tech, it's just
it is hard trying to make it interesting.
Kind of humanize a bit of tech, and that's what I'm trying to do. To say, I'm feeling a certain emotion about this device.
Yeah.
And this story will take you through how I'm feeling and how I'm, maybe changing from one to the other or whatever.
I've tried this technique on the last two of almost doing a 360 bit storytelling. So in the previous video, I lit a candle early on. And last frame just blew it out. Yeah. So it was always sitting there, and it was kind of why. And this time, what I've tried is, because I've likened the fact that a lot of phones are boring like modern cars. That was kind of the premise that my thought came up with. And so what I did I've got this, one of my cars I loved most of all was a Lotus Esprit, and I've got a little corgi model of it. So I had it just poking into the thumbnail. Then the car was sitting there to one side throughout the video, just the bonnet poking into the screen. And right at the end, I say, if this was a car, it'd be a classic sports car. It'd be fun. I've tried that technique and funnily enough, I saw McKinnon did something recently. He had a chess piece or something in the middle. It was his desk tour, which was insane because there was nothing on his desk, only he.
I watched that video, yeah.
But you saw where he had that chess piece, which is he had some sort of anti-pollen medicine or something, didn't he? Brilliant, again, because you were thinking, why is that sitting there?
Throughout the entire video, you fixated with why is that there? And why is the only thing on it as well?
Yeah, brilliant. But as you say, if YouTube just gave us a little clue as to what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I guess in retention you can. I mean, and I'm seeing that now in all videos that I do a little bit extra in terms it's different. I might be just doing some keepy appies or whatever. I see the spike in the retention. Going the right way up. It's hard for us, I think, to maintain that through our tech video because you got to talk about the quality of the camera. You got to talk about stuff that
exactly.
It can't be entertaining all the time. It has to be information as well.
How do you know when you're there's almost cutting off from it being a vanity project? I'm doing this for me. I'm making something that I really want to make, as opposed to thinking I'm making the right video. There's that kind of balance you need to tread as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I used to think like that. I mean, I stopped thinking that for a long time ago. I mean, all videos I make now are stuff that I enjoy. There will be the odd ones, like I sponsored dedicated video, which is rare, but there will be those where do I really feel that passionate? Probably not, Whereas, if I'm reviewing something that I'm enjoying, then I add bits that I want to make, like, a little skit at the beginning of the video, because
it's yours.
That's what makes me you inspired to create, I think. Yeah, it's definitely.
So we kind of talking retention then, when you're talking about keeping up, it kind of brings us where we said we'd have a little chat about analytics. Now, that is a whole, when you start off day one of a channel, you don't realise, when you're getting no views, it clearly doesn't matter. But over the course of time, those analytics start to tell a big story, don't they?
Oh, yeah, gosh, yeah. I mean, I use it all the time. I mean, sometimes it's probably not healthy to look at it all the time, and because there's a part of it that you want that hit of, I got 10 new subs in the last hour or whatever, and you go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you get that little hit.
That buzz,
That's the part of the analytics watching that I probably think is not healthy and is not really helping you. It's not really telling you much. It's just giving you a little bit of an ego boost, right? Let's be honest.
So if we put it back then, where do you go to get the main drivers? What are your main metrics you're keenly looking at after the video's been out for maybe even quickly? Because I know you do monitor it early on for the thumb, don't you? To see what that's like. Oh,
totally, yeah. I mean, recently I haven't so much because I kind of knew. I mean, if it's a topical thing and you know that in the first hour you got 1,000 views, it's like, okay, that doesn't need touching. You probably could do better, but in comparison with the previous 10 videos, like, okay, that's actually all right. But yeah, I've recently been watching the first 2 hours. So CTR is below, I think I had a thing where if it was below 10% in the first 2 hours, I changed the thumb or the title or both. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, and that's one thing that I think I asked the account YouTube creators on Twitter, and they said that they're actually bringing A/B testing.
Yes, I'll bring that in, aren't they?
And some people already have it as a trial. It's like brilliant, because I want to be able to create 2 thumbnails and use the one that's being clicked the most, obviously. But yeah, there are things in there that you can learn that you can't learn straight away, that you learn after weeks, maybe a few days, maybe some weeks after the video is being uploaded, that you can go back and go, right, what happens in here? And you can see where people are completely clicking off or where people are watching back and getting that spike. Obviously, ad reads is usually where you see a low spike. But if you do it well, I mean, I did a Squarespace one that was actually people it was 2 versions of me. So it was hard as hell to make because you're trying to keep it engaging.
Earn your dollar.
And I was testing the speaker quality. So people had to listen to it to test, to see how good the speakers were. So I think I did that really well, but you can't maintain that as a solo creator to do that every single video. It takes time. But yeah, I use that, weeks after the video's done something, go
to
back in
learn
there.
from.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
to alter that video clearly by that point, but to learn where you're getting dips and spikes.
And that's where I think analytics watching is more useful, right? Because it's not an ego related thing. Look, I've got this many views. It's about, okay, what have I done here that either I can stop doing, like if in the intro you see that massive drop, like if it drops too much, like below 60, I was like, what the hell? So I just cut that off completely in the next video. If and if I see at the end as well, people are dropping off way too soon, it's like, okay, maybe I need to be more abrupt in how I end the video, because if people get a little hint that you're ending the video, so I try to avoid that now, and I say something that is an indication I'm going to end the video though, and I can see at that point. And when I say, if you've watched this video, you can watch this one, people are like, okay, I'm out. So I'm trying to think of a clever way, maybe adding bloopers at the end, and I've tried all sorts of things.
Yeah, I've seen you do those.
Just to say maybe
keep people going.
Yeah, and there's obviously what you're saying throughout the video as well. There's those techniques. Remember that you can say things like to trigger. Oh, hang on, I've got to wait for this bit. Yeah, but it's that there's retention tactics, and there's also just making content that people want to watch.
And yeah, exactly this. Yeah, I mean, I was just, as you were saying that, I was thinking, well, maybe what I should do is one of my more popular recent videos, the Pixel one. I should go back and have a look at that analytics graph now.
Yeah,
and then just remap what I've done. And if they like that formula, sure, something's going to be the product. Something is going to be Pixel.
I honestly think sometimes we overthink this stuff. If you do a video that is popular at the moment, you're gonna get views. Right? Yeah. If you're gonna talk, for example, like last time we spoke, right? It was considering reviewing a microphone. It's like, don't do it, because no one's gonna search for that. And that's the conversations I have with some sponsors as well. They're like, can you review these headphones? Absolutely. I love the tech. I love talking about it, but the video's not gonna do well. No one's searching for that brand. No one's searching for that content.
And that's where they need to pay you well if you're going to sacrifice views and clicks and so on, you need to be making money somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah, it's it's a push and pull a little bit there, but at the end of the day, it's knowing what's hot at the moment, and YouTube is giving us a little bit of a help now with the research tab in analytics. You can go and see what your viewers are searching for.
Yeah.
I don't know if I if that's that useful, because it just have like 3 measurements. They say high, medium, and low. So, okay, if it's high, it's like iPhone 15 is high. It's not great, but is it higher than S23 Ultra, for example? If I'm deciding between those two, they're both saying high. So it's useful to a point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm getting to the point now where they're beginning to mean more to me. I've got more data in there now. I've got almost 2 years of history on the belt, but obviously now I'm beginning to get some views as well. So they're beginning to mean more to me. I've actually just started laughingly looking at the revenue tab now, and there we were talking CPM and RPM.
Yeah.
Which is more important to a creator, do you think?
I always look at CPM. I don't look too much at RPM, because I think that takes into account the market, how much you're actually getting paid at the end. I find it more interesting personally to know how much advertisers are paying
to be on your channel.
Yeah. And I think the higher that number, the better. Obviously.
That's the CPM.
That's the CPM.
So that's what they're paying YouTube to be on the channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So and obviously the higher means that they're better.
And clearly, the bigger channel you are, the more views you're getting, the more they're going to pay to be on your channel.
Yeah,
of course.
And it's been an interesting trend recently, because when I first started, all my videos were doing really well after I started reviewing a particular brand. And I noticed that all my videos had that brand advert on it.
Yeah,
if I went back in there and watched my videos in Anonymous, it would see that brand. So I think there's brands that like you, and they will pump advertising into your channel somehow. But yeah, if I see something like a local advertiser, and I go
that's not a good sign.
That's not good. But yeah, if I go in there and there's like a big brand advertising, like sometimes Apple and Samsung will advertise.
I've seen Samsung on my videos. Yeah,
and I think that's really a good sign.
And I also saw I've forgotten the name now, but the partner behind Apple's contact payments I forget the company's name, but they've started advertising on my videos as well. So obviously it's kind of that tie-in Apple-esque type of thing.
Yeah, which is, I think, comes down to SEO as well. If you title something, you're not going to believe what I've done, right? For example, then it's like it's going to confuse the hell out of
They've got
advertisers.
nothing to tie onto, have they?
Yeah, but if you mention Apple or iPhone or Samsung or whatever, it's a better chance. The cool stat that I like looking at now is the demographics.
Yes.
And I think it since shorts became a thing, it's kind of messing up with the stats. And I like how YouTube now lets you separate videos and shorts. But yeah, sometimes a brand will ask you, what's the demographics like, because they want to know how many, what's your percentage in a certain market, and if your percentage is too high in a market that doesn't have enough buying power, then they're probably not going to be interested. So yeah, with shorts you got to be careful, because there's a lot of views coming from all over the world, and you don't know, they're not going to be as good as like Western views, for example.
Of course.
Or, it's interesting to watch those as well, because that could change how you engage with brands as well.
Well, since I've switched to making content about Androids, I've noticed more of an Asian feel. I'm getting more Indian viewers now. Before it was very much American, and it's transitioning now clearly to that. So I'm trying to post videos more with that kind of time frame in mind.
Yeah. And I do wonder though if that's a thing now, because I think the India market likes Apple too, right? There's a lot of interest in Apple
investing at, haven't they? So
yeah, and I think they just opened a store.
Third store? Well, right? I think it's 3. It's either 2. They've certainly done 2. I'm not sure there's a third. But yeah.
So maybe it's a misconception now, but I think the type of video is probably changing. I think there's a lot more views, like shorts, a lot more views from India, for example, than in America, like massively more. So yeah, I do wonder.
Yeah. So if you were talking to somebody starting out day one, and they said to you, which of the sort of 3 metrics I should be most interested in, where would your pointers be?
Yeah, well, AVD, or the average view duration. So you got to go in there and say how long are people watching, and then that's for me the main. Everything comes from that, really. If you can get people to stay on your video for longer and then kind of watch another one, that's really the secret. So just pay attention to that initially. Forget views, forget whatever. How long are people watching it for? And of course that goes completely out of the water if there's a freak event, like I've created a Brazilian channel, and
which we're going to get to in just a minute,
and that's I'm not even watching the analytics so much for that, because it's just crazy.
Well, let's actually, before we start talking now, I've noticed since I'm getting more subscribers now that I don't get those email notifications, because obviously the bigger you get, they just don't send you every email to say. But that stopped, which is a kind of a nice sign. Yeah. But equally, there was you get the emails when people are commenting. You always get it. So I woke up one morning and there was loads of messages, but from one guy and on different videos, and he'd clearly spent time binging.
Binge working, binge working.
So I thought that was a good sign. He'd gone through about 6 videos, and at different points in those videos, he was making comments, not just all near the beginning. And honestly, I was looking back through my analytics. Studio Display, I've made 4 videos, and every one of those display videos has done well for me.
Yeah.
It's odd how people like you talking about certain things, isn't it?
Yeah, and I do get annoyed sometimes, because YouTube sort of puts you in a box almost. Like, as much as they say, the algorithm should be seen the same as, if you replace that word with audience, but I don't know. I have my doubts, because sometimes you're right. I want to make videos about other stuff, like audio gear is something that I love talking about.
Yeah.
It doesn't do well.
No,
it doesn't matter. It might be the AirPods Max. Even doesn't matter what I do in those videos. Yeah. So I kind of stopped, and I made a conscious decision not to make those videos anymore.
Yeah, you've got to cater to what the more mass market's going to be, and where the audience is going to be.
Yeah.
And talking of where the audience is for you at the moment, breaking news, Alex is going to ditch his UK channel because he's going purely Brazilian. So talk us through this now. The man with 2 channels and 2 different languages. You've gone back to your native tongue, right? You've gone Brazilian.
Yeah,
that sounds awful. Alex has not gone Brazilian. No, that's a really
that's
bad mental image now that I can't
get
out of my head. Damn, it's going to be a painful drive home.
Yeah. No, it's it's an experiment almost, but it's something that people from Brazil have been asking me to do, because I'm from Brazil, and people say, well, when they found out, and it might be a little, a picture of the Ayrton Senna helmet, like a famous racing driver that we had, They say, "Oh my gosh, are you from Brazil?" And they're surprised to hear that, and so you should be making videos over here. And I never really took that too serious. And then my brothers, it's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah."
Who still lives in Brazil?
Yeah, and they're saying there's nothing quite like your type of content over here. It's like, really? It's like it's not that different to most tech videos, right? But I've been doing some research. It's like, actually, yeah, it's quite different over there. So yeah, it's almost like it could be a freak, and but there's only 2 videos on the channel right now. But they in 8 days, I think I gained 6,000 subscribers.
Ay, 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 ay.
So I don't know.
Wow.
Obviously, I don't know what to think right now because I'm overwhelmed with the response. Obviously, I had to do a quick 20-second video say, "Thank you so much, Brazil."
Have you done any shorts in Brazil?
I did
yet?
one yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my idea when I started it was, I'm gonna pick just the popular videos that on the English channel and translate that into the Brazilian and upload it, not expecting anything. And I did that for one video that was popular. I was switching a video actually from the S23 Ultra, sorry, from iPhone to
iPhone,
S23
yeah.
Ultra, and it kind of, in my terms, it blew up. It's like 80,000 views now. Which for me is crazy. I mean, I know people talk about millions of views, right? But for me, it's 80k views. It's crazy, even for my English channel.
Yeah,
So
clearly.
to have that on my Brazilian channel.
So what's the mechanics of doing it then? So do you record both languages at the same time now? Is that what you're going to do moving
So
forward?
I haven't done that yet. So for the Fold 5, I did a bit of free rolling, and I just kind of recorded first in English and then re-recorded the A roll in Portuguese. Now what I'm going to experiment with the next video is record both, because a lot of my footage is not just me sitting at the desk, right? I'm outside as well, so I'm kind of thinking, instead of going out twice, I'm going out once and I record both English, and
Right.
straight after I
Yeah.
press record again in
Yeah.
Portuguese. So it's a bit more work, but because it's fresh in your head, right? You just said it in English. It's easy enough to go
Is it
say the same thing.
I know you've not been speaking Brazilian as your main daily
Yeah.
language every day. So which is more fluent for you now?
They're both equally easy to speak, right? But when you're talking about tech, it's a lot easier to speak in English. So I actually made a thing in my first couple of videos to say, please correct him if I'm wrong. And it's funny because some of the viewers over there said, "I knew your channel in English," and I'm watching confused here because I didn't know you're Brazilian, and I'm wondering if it's AI dubbing your videos or something like deep fake stuff. It's like, no, it's me talking in your language. But they say actually you don't sound Brazilian either. My mum said that to me, right? She's like, "You sound gringo now." When I speak, to me, I sound the same way as I used to, but obviously 20 odd years
Gringo
away
is a
from
thing then, is
Brazil.
it, in your mum's language?
Yeah.
She knows it. That's gringo.
Yeah, exactly. And people are telling me in the comments as well. It's like, you're not quite, you don't speak fluent like with all the things, the colloquialisms and whatever. But he's not quite gringo either, right? It's like, yeah, it's funny because now I've got 2 languages and I can't speak either properly.
So let's wind it on to having a lovely problem. Let's say 3 months down the line, your Brazilian channel's going bonkers mad, growing like a wildfire.
Yeah.
Which do you then prioritise? I mean, if you can't, there's a point where you haven't got enough hours in a day.
No, and I think the way I will look at it is to continue same. I started in a way that I can scale, right? I wouldn't have started if I didn't think it was possible, which is, I'm not going to make more videos on one than the other. So it's going to be equal. Like if I can do 1 video a week in both channels, brilliant. But I might do 1 video a week in English and 1 video every 2 weeks in Portuguese.
Right, yeah.
It depends on how busy I am and, how much time I've got to make videos.
I'm assuming the Brazilian YouTube market is big. I'm assuming they watch a lot.
Well, clearly, I think I tapped into a bit of a gap there for tech videos. I mean, most of the big tech channels over there are either a bit of a copy of big channels in America. So they're kind of superficially covering the tech. They're not actually using and going out and testing.
Nuts and bolts, hands on, yeah.
So most of the comments I'm getting are related to that. Oh my gosh, you actually using the thing like I do. It's like, yeah, I don't mention specs. The same. I don't do benchmark sometimes I do, but only if it's really needed in my English channel. And I'm adopting the same philosophy in the Brazilian. It's like, I'm just talking to you, as someone who uses this stuff same way, hopefully the same way you use it.
I must say, the ones you showed me before we started recording, they looked a lot more sort of home-baked. There was no polish. The thumbnails looked very average. It's certainly not anything you'd want to click on.
And these channels have millions of subscribers, and I'm thinking,
if they're doing that well,
better than that.
Looking like that,
with
all the tech.
I'll tell you the funny thing, right? I'm a very competitive person.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I'm looking at this video, and there's this one guy that Samsung took to Korea.
Right. Well, on the
Brazilian
latest last event.
I mean, he's great. He's got great personality. He's obviously been doing this for years. Right? I'm not going to knock his stuff, but I'm looking at the actual quality of the content he's delivering in terms of the information that he's delivering, and how useful is this? If I'm trying to buy something based on his review, is he helping me? Sadly, the answer was no. I'm thinking, I'm not an expert in many things, but I can do it a little bit better than this.
Yeah, so that was tapping into that niche.
So that was like, okay, I'm going to stop thinking about it and just get off my bum and do it.
Yeah.
So now I've kind of created a rock for my own back, because
nice place
it's
to be in,
a lot harder than I thought it would be. Because I thought, how hard can it be just to speak it again, in a different language? But no, I still need a script most of the time, and English tech words are just not easily to translate. Say mouse, for example, in Brazil is mouse, but keyboard isn't. So you have to find the word for keyboard, and that's different in Portugal. I mean, the other thing I found is that there are other countries as well that speak Portuguese, and I've been focusing on Brazil, but actually Mozambique and Angola and Portugal.
With the same
No, they're slightly different too, but
enough that they'd understand.
There are a lot of viewers from Mozambique and Angola that are watching Brazilian channels, and they're all saying lovely things. I'm like, okay, I need to consider that too.
Yeah. It just goes on and on, doesn't it? It just is never ending. And talk about never ending, maybe as our last thing, we kind of alluded to at the beginning. Blowing aside all the bullshit about actually enjoying being here with you, it was the thought of getting away from the studio and the screen for a few straight hours. I've had sweet FA results realistically out of what I'm doing. I'm determined this is what I want to do, and I'm going to carry on doing it for as long as I can afford to sort of back myself to do it. I almost give myself a business loan to try and make it work. Yeah. But Jesus, it's hard work.
It is, isn't it? But it feels to me that as a watcher, that you've kind of found a little spark in just trying something different, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important with anyone trying to create content. If you tried a few things and it's not working out, it's so easy to give up, and a lot of people do, right? But I'd say experiment.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might be in the right niche, but you're not doing it in the right way. Or you might be trying to copy somebody, or trying to emulate something that is not you. So now I'm glad you're starting to see some success with those Android stuff, because sometimes it's not about being a brand loyalist. But if you're reviewing, in my opinion, if you're reviewing tech, the more tech that you review, the better you will be for your viewers.
Absolutely.
Right?
It gives you context and so on. I mean, also from the health point of view, I just haven't physically been getting outdoors enough, getting any vitamin D on me. I've just been sat inside too long, and that was unhealthy. And today, I'm lucky enough to have a sunroof in the car. I had that back air and blowing and not. But I sort of said I took Sunday off of the week, and I think I mentioned at the beginning. So last week I did 2 videos, 4 blogs, and an hour's live stream. Yeah, exactly.
And I know how apps. I mean,
I'm still recovering
when do you
now.
sleep, right?
And also, I've got a design business, and on Saturday I had to do a 28-page brochure. I had to artwork and proof that as well. That was 10 hours on Saturday.
Yeah.
By Sunday, I was on the floor. And then I thought I'd have the day off. Of course, I didn't. What I ended up doing was loading up the Flip and going out and taking video. And okay, it didn't look like work, but my brain, and you'll know what this is like, almost never. If you go to the pub, and we better be going to the pub for lunch, you're going to be looking at, that actually is quite a nice beer.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
You're always looking, aren't you?
It's hard because you're trying to be present as well, right? And, so
you've got a young family. I mean,
you've got to police yourself sometimes, because not everything is content. Sometimes you just got to just watch a family movie or go out for a meal.
So you said you're going on holiday next week, right?
It's either next week or the week after.
So what will you do then? How does the fan play it then? Do you take kit with you? Do you
I'll find a cheeky run in the morning and then
be shooting something, even if it's just B-roll or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely. And to be honest, right, and I'm sure I'll find 10 minutes to respond to emails from my 9 to 5 job as well.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think the world has changed in work terms, right? We work all the time, for a lot of professions anyway. So I don't really see it as a problem. I'd find it. I mean, I think I was in Portugal last year, and I tried to completely switch off for a few days. I couldn't. You know, it's like, okay, that's a drone. I'm going to take the drone and record some footage, even though there was no planned content. I recorded footage that I knew I could use later
at some point.
Yeah. So
and maybe as a final point, something I know you dabble in a bit is on Medium.
Yeah.
So propping up my side of the business.
What are they doing?
So I'll name some numbers. Not, they're not through the roof, but they were good enough to substantiate and let me carry on a bit. They paid some bills. So I had a high of about $1,100, and then I was averaging around about $800 a month for writing 5 days a week. It was good enough. It helps.
Gosh, that's amazing. Yeah.
And then suddenly, if you haven't watched, Mark put up on his solopreneur channel, he put up a great video. He was really impassioned about it, and Mark and I have had a few texts back and forth. I
attended his
week.
Medium course, actually. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which clearly is affecting because he's now all these people paying. So now I'm not earning money. So put value on it. I've just had today for last month. I've just had $680 arrive.
Right.
At the moment, 10 days into the month, I'm at $32.
Wow.
They have they've completely ignored tech writers completely. What they want is shock and awe stories that that are going to get picked up by their editors, boosted by their editors.
Yeah.
And we've all been pulling our hair out. It's just gone. And also, I used to have a core, like with YouTube, I had a core amount of readers that would always be messaging me about what I'd written. They've gone.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just not seeing them.
So what do you think is? So what's the decision behind it? Is it just a different tactic?
Tony Stubbledean, I think his name is, he sent us all out an email explaining it was going to be a change, and they dressed it up to sound very positive. It was going to go to more countries. It was going to be made in audio versions for greater countries. It all sounded very positive, but what they didn't say was the algorithm in the back end was very much going to be headline driven. And of course with tech, like we've just been saying, I can't suddenly say that it's going to ruin your life. I can't say that it's going to make you want to get a divorce. I can't write those headlines.
No, it's not. Yes, you can do clickbaity stuff, but it's not really going to be sensationalism, right? It's just at the end of the day, it's just a bit of tech.
So anyway, that was a kick in the nuts I could have done without, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Seeing it drop by that much, and Mark said the same thing. His figures were slightly great. He told us his figures as well, and everybody I've spoken to.
I mean, not saying that Twitter would pay that much, right, for written content, but could you see that maybe being another channel for you?
It's getting to the point. Because I used to sit down as a business with the business hat on. I said, well, at least that's paying. So the first thing I did every day was write. I thought, once I got that done, that's paying the bills.
Yeah.
I can then go off and sort of play with YouTube and make that begin to work.
Yeah.
But that was paying bills.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm thinking, well, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I write on Medium as well, but maybe once a month I'll throw something there. So monetizing has never been a focus of mine there, even though I enjoy doing it. It's just the time it takes.
It does take time.
Like I got to concentrate on one thing, right? But yeah, that feels wrong to me.
It's brutal.
It's like, yeah.
And Mark sort of wrote this open letter to Tony, and I joined on behind it because I think the more voices that we can get heard, they've just completely, torn the rug out from under us. And it wasn't even a gentle slide; it was just a rip. It was a Band-Aid off. That's it. You're not going to earn money now.
It's weird, right? Because
so I need to look.
They obviously take a cut on the revenue, don't they? So it's not,
and they've got a big business to run. They've got offices, they've got employees, and suddenly they're cutting off some of their cash. You would have thought it just they cut off the whole tech space. From what I can understand, it's suddenly of no interest.
What's the alternative?
Well, that's it. Substack. I don't know if I don't know. I've got to look at other ways. If the content's there,
yeah. Have you thought of running your own blog and then running advertising on your blog?
Well, the blogs get posted first to my website anyway, so in essence, they're all there. I mean, I don't necessarily push that super hard because the same stories you have to pay to read on Medium.
Yeah.
But the route I have to go, I have to prove ownership. So by doing that, I published my own website first.
Right.
So it's kind of there. And I did have analytics from Google yesterday saying that I think in the last 2 weeks I had about 1,500 hits on my website, which for a small one-person website is all right.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's weird.
It's
so bizarre.
You just feel you're making headway in one area and then it just gets... I don't know.
It's just, I don't get that.
But overall, I mean, it has been a good. I've got to say, I mean, your Brazil channel's blowing up, and your UK channel's still doing well. I woke up the other morning, your latest Samsung video had immediately done 30,000 views. I don't know what the metrics behind it were like.
It's doing well. There's a lot more that I want to do, but it's just so hard time-wise, right? I mean, I do one video a week, and that's a struggle. I'm going to struggle to get this week's video because it's a comparison, and in any comparison, there's so much involved, right?
There is.
So, yeah, I mean, it's doing well. Can't complain. And I was talking to Daniel the other day, and he's like, Alex, just chill, because there's a lot of people who look up and say, right, this is where I want to be, and I have to kind of remember that. Yeah, it was a year ago. I was looking at channels the size of mine, thinking, I wish I was that. So I think there's an element of recognizing that things are going well, and just keep at it.
Going at it.
Yeah.
Well, mate, I can hear that burger being cooked.
Let's go grab some food.
I'm starving, absolutely starving. Fun as ever, mate.
Cheers, mate.
See you 2 weeks.
All right.